The room was quiet when the glass reflected the lie. Sunlight hung in the air, sharp and clean, catching on a painting worth more than most lives. Two men stood inches from sealing a deal, one confident, one calculating, when a small voice cut through the stillness. "That is fake, sir," she shouted. Time hesitated. A child stood alone, finger raised, eyes steady. One man's future collapsed without a sound. Another felt something he hadn't felt in years, the dangerous pull of truth spoken without fear. Roxy liked the way the light behaved at lunch. It wasn't loud the way evenings were. The sun slipped through the tall windows at Harbor House in clean angles, laying soft rectangles across the floor. Glass caught it and bent it. Silverware answered with brief flashes. The room felt paused. Half-full tables, voices kept low, the ocean beyond the windows moving without asking permission. Roxy sat with her hands folded, fingertips pressed together. The chair was too tall, but she didn't mind. She liked the distance. It gave her room to watch. Her eyes followed lines before faces. The edge of a table, the seam in the carpet, the way light stopped short of the wall and softened. She counted breaths while she waited for her mother to come back inside. Through the glass of the private room, two men stood near an easel. One spoke with his hands, the other didn't. Roxy's attention settled on the still one first, not because he was quiet, but because his quiet had weight. He stood with his shoulders loose, feet planted like he belonged there whether anyone agreed or not. His gaze didn't dart, it held. The other man smiled too much. His suit pulled tight across his shoulders when he leaned forward. He kept glancing at the door, then back at the painting draped in black. Roxy leaned forward in her chair. When the cloth slid away, her chest tightened. The colors were right, the shape almost right, but the painting didn't breathe. Her eyes moved closer, tracing the curve of red metal, the tension in the stroke. She saw where the brush pressed too hard, where it hesitated and tried to correct itself. She saw the layer beneath that shouldn't have been there. The metal didn't rest, it strained. Her fingers curled against the table. Something didn't belong. She stood. The sound of her chair legs was small, but it cut through the quiet anyway. Roxy walked toward the glass, heart steady, mind clear. She lifted her hand and pointed, not at the men, but at the mistake. "That is fake, sir." The word landed cleanly. Silence spread outward, quick and thin. A fork paused mid-air. A chair stopped scraping. The man who'd been smiling froze, mouth open just enough to show his teeth. The quiet man turned. Nicholas Ashford had learned to read rooms without effort. He could feel shifts the way other men felt weather. The moment the child spoke, he felt the balance tip, something precise and expensive sliding off center. He didn't look at the painting first. He looked at her. She stood small and steady, finger lifted, eyes fixed on the canvas. No apology in her posture, no challenge either, just certainty. Nicholas crossed the room and opened the glass door. "Come here," he said. His voice wasn't sharp, it didn't need to be. Roxy stepped inside. The room smelled different, older, heavier. Money lived here. She didn't look at the men. She stopped in front of the painting, close enough to see where the surface betrayed itself. She copied the movement, but not the pressure. Her finger hovered, careful not to touch. The brush slowed here. Calder didn't stop like that. He let it fall. The other man let out a short laugh that didn't reach his eyes. She's a child." Nicholas stepped closer to the canvas. He followed her finger. The line wavered where confidence should have lived. Once seen, it couldn't be unseen. "How do you know this?" Nicholas asked. Roxy shrugged. The motion was small. "I see what doesn't fit." Nicholas straightened. "She's right." The sentence ended the room.
The smile vanished from Victor Harlan's face. His jaw tightened, color rising beneath his skin. "This is outrageous," he said, already backing away. "You invited me here to be insulted by... You invited yourself, and you brought me a forgery." Victor's breath hitched. He looked past Nicholas, past the child, as if searching for an exit that wouldn't cost him pride. He found none. He left without shaking hands. Outside the glass, Aria Richard turned at the sound of the door opening. She'd finished the call angry and rushed back in, apology already forming on her lips. She saw her daughter standing beside a tall white man whose presence bent the room. "I'm so sorry. She didn't mean to interrupt." "She meant exactly what she said," Nicholas replied. Aria's mouth closed. Her eyes flicked to Roxy, then back to him. "She saved me a great deal of money," Nicholas added. Roxy didn't smile. Victor's footsteps faded down the hall. His humiliation followed him, quiet and sharp. Nicholas watched Roxy as the room slowly exhaled and sound returned. She stood the same way she had before, unshielded, unbothered, truth spoken and released. For the first time in years, Nicholas felt something shift that had nothing to do with control. He looked at the child instead of the painting. What does it cost to tell the truth when no one asked you to?
Where are you watching from? If this moment stirred something in you, please subscribe, like, and share. It truly encourages me to create more stories like this. Aria didn't sit down right away. She stood beside Roxy's chair, one hand resting lightly on her daughter's shoulder, fingers spread like a shield she knew was too late to raise. Her heart still thudded from the walk back inside, from the way the room had turned when she entered, from the man whose presence felt like it carried consequences. "Are you okay?" she asked Roxy softly. Roxy nodded once. She was already reaching for her water glass, lining it up with the edge of the table, breathing even. There was no excitement on her face, no pride, just the quiet certainty of something completed. Aria watched her for a second longer than necessary. She knew this look, the calm after precision. Roxy never celebrated being right. Being right simply returned the world to order. "I didn't touch it," Roxy added, "because rules mattered." "I know," Aria said. She lifted her eyes then to the man standing across from them. Nicholas Ashford had stepped back, giving them space without being asked. His jacket hung open, untouched by the day's warmth. He wasn't looking at Roxy now. He was watching Aria instead, as if gauging how much weight she carried and how she carried it. "I'm sorry," Aria said again, habit reflexive. "She doesn't interrupt people. She noticed," Nicholas said. "That's not the same thing." The distinction landed heavier than comfort. Aria exhaled slowly. Her fear didn't vanish, but it shifted. She gathered her bag, sliding back into the chair opposite Roxy. The restaurant resumed around them. Low voices, movement, a server pretending not to stare. Roxy took a bite of bread, chewed, swallowed. "Lunch is still lunch," she said. Aria almost smiled. Nicholas turned away first. He walked back into the private room alone, phone already in his hand. He took photos of the painting from 3 angles, then one more of the signature. His movements were economical, practiced. He didn't look angry, he looked thorough. When he was finished, he stood still for a moment longer than required. Grief lived in the pauses. He folded the cloth back over the canvas with care, like covering something already dead. He washed his hands at the small sink in the corner, scrubbing longer than necessary, drying them twice. The ring that never left his right hand caught the light briefly, dull and unadorned. When he returned, Aria had relaxed just enough to notice him watching Roxy again, not closely, not intrusively, like someone studying a fixed point. "She sees differently," Aria said, quietly. "Details don't hide from her." Nicholas nodded once. He didn't ask for an explanation. He didn't need one. "Victor Harlan, did you hear his name?" Aria shook her head. "Victor won't forget this," Nicholas continued, tone unchanged. "Men like him don't." Something cold slid into Aria's chest. Roxy looked up.
He was wrong, she said. Nicholas met her gaze. Yes, that was all. He paid the bill without asking, left a tip that made the server pause, and stepped back again, distance deliberate. Arya gathered her things, her hand finding Roxy's instinctively as they stood. At the door, Nicholas spoke once more. "May I have your number?" he asked Arya. "Not for business." She hesitated. The instinct to refuse rose fast and sharp. She didn't belong to this world. She knew that. Nicholas didn't rush her. Roxy squeezed her hand, once. Arya read the room again, not the restaurant, but the space between danger and choice. She recited the number. Nicholas repeated it back perfectly. "Thank you," he said. They left first. Nicholas stayed where he was, watching the glass catch the light again, the room returning to what it had been. He sent the images, made 2 calls, gave one instruction that sounded like a question and wasn't. Victor Harlan lingered in his thoughts, not as a problem, but as a pattern. Nicholas recognized patterns too, and this one had just begun.
Nicholas did not arrive unannounced. He waited across the street, engine off, watching the rhythm of the place before he crossed into it. The apartment building leaned into its age, paint chipped at the corners, a mailbox that stuck when opened, a stairwell that smelled faintly of detergent and old rain. Children's voices echoed from somewhere above, sharp and uncontained. It was not unfamiliar territory. It was simply one he no longer lived in. When Arya came down the steps with Roxy, Nicholas straightened, not to be seen, but to be ready. Roxy noticed him first. She stopped, tilted her head slightly, and studied him the way she studied everything, without fear, without hurry. Arya followed her gaze. "You didn't say you were coming," she said, not unkind, but firm. "I said I'd check in," Nicholas replied. "This is that." Roxy looked between them. "He keeps his promises," she said, as if offering context. Arya exhaled. "We're late for pickup." "I'll walk," Nicholas said. They moved together, an alignment that wasn't agreed upon, only allowed. Nicholas matched their pace without comment. He noticed the way Arya kept herself angled slightly toward Roxy, her hand always within reach, protection without drama, endurance without complaint. At the school gate, Nicholas stayed back. He didn't step into the crowd of parents. He watched the exits instead, eyes mapping movement, memorizing faces. Roxy slipped her hand into his for half a second before she went in, then let go like it meant nothing. Arya noticed. She said nothing. On the walk back, she stopped beside the building and faced him. "You can't just show up," she said. "I appreciate what you did, I do, but we're fine." Nicholas held her gaze. He didn't argue. "I believe you believe that," he said. Her jaw tightened. "I don't need saving. I didn't offer it." Silence pressed between them. Roxy watched, eyes moving from face to face, absorbing tone more than words. That night, Nicholas sat in his car 2 blocks away longer than necessary. He watched lights go on, then off. He listened to the city settle. When his phone vibrated, he answered without looking. "Nothing obvious," his security lead said, but someone asked about her at the school, claiming to be an uncle. Nicholas closed his eyes once, briefly. "Victor," he said, not a question. Indirect, but yes. Nicholas ended the call. He didn't move, he didn't curse. He let the information settle, slotting it into place. The next afternoon, Arya found a folded envelope taped to her door, no name. Inside, a receipt from Harbor House, time circled, table number marked. The ink faintly smudged like it had been handled too much. She felt it before she understood it. Nicholas arrived 10 minutes later. This time she let him in. Roxy sat at the table, lining up her crayons. She looked up when he entered, eyes sharp. "He came closer," she said. "Yes," Nicholas agreed. Arya folded the receipt slowly. "This is intimidation," she said. "Quiet, legal." "It's a message," Nicholas replied. "He wants you to know he can see you." "And what do you want?" Arya asked. Nicholas met her gaze. His voice didn't rise. "I want you to be safe." Roxy slid 1 crayon forward, red, the same curve she'd seen before. "He's angry because he was wrong," she said. "Yes," Nicholas agreed, "and because someone saw it."
Arya crossed her arms. "We didn't ask for this." Nicholas's eyes softened just a fraction. "No, you didn't." He stood, adjusting his jacket, already making decisions that did not require permission but would carry consequences. He paused at the door. "There will be more signals. If anything feels out of place, anything at all, you call me." Arya hesitated, then nodded once. Nicholas left without another word. Down the street, his phone vibrated again. A single image came through. A photo of the building, taken from across the road, time-stamped minutes earlier. No threat, no demand, just presence. Nicholas stared at the screen until it dimmed. He started the engine. How do you protect someone who never asked to be protected?
Nicholas began to appear the way weather does, without announcement, without explanation. He didn't stay long. He never crossed a line. He framed it as checking in, as a coincidence, as a man passing through a neighborhood he had no reason to belong to. But his presence shifted the air each time he arrived, subtle and steady. Arya noticed it first in the silences. He would stand near the window while she folded laundry, sit at the small table while Roxy did homework. He didn't fill the space with conversation. He didn't ask questions that required answers. He simply stayed, long enough for the room to recalibrate around him. Roxy adapted fastest. She began leaving a chair slightly pulled out when he came. She placed an extra glass on the table without comment. Once, when Nicholas stood to leave, she looked up and said, "You didn't finish your water." He sat back down and did. Arya watched this shift with a tightness she couldn't name. Gratitude, maybe, or fear of how easily rhythm formed when no one asked permission. One afternoon, Nicholas walked them home from school. The street was ordinary, cracked sidewalks, a stray cat slipping between parked cars, but his attention was not. His eyes moved constantly, cataloging what Arya had learned to ignore. At her door, he paused. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "I know," he replied. Their eyes held, not long, just long enough for something unspoken to surface, then retreat. Inside, Arya leaned against the door after he left, breath shallow, palm flat against the wood. Want moved through her like a question she refused to ask. Later that week, Nicholas received confirmation from a private appraiser. The forgery was undeniable. He forwarded the report without commentary, then closed his laptop and sat still for a long moment, hands folded, jaw set. Victor Harlan would not retreat. The escalation came quietly. A man approached Roxy's bus stop asking for directions. Another lingered near Arya's worksite, polite, forgettable. No threats, no mistakes. Nicholas adjusted his schedule, canceled a meeting, moved pieces without announcing the board. That evening, Arya found him in the kitchen, rinsing a mug. "You don't belong here," she said softly. He dried his hands and met her gaze. "Neither do the men watching your street." The words landed between them, heavy but controlled. Roxy sat cross-legged on the floor, building a pattern that mirrored itself perfectly. She looked up once, eyes moving between them. "He's not leaving," she said. Nicholas didn't deny it. Arya closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, something had settled. "Then don't pretend this is nothing," she said. Nicholas's voice was low. "I'm not." Silence returned, but it was no longer empty. That night, Nicholas sat alone in his car, watching the building's lights. He checked his phone once, then turned it face down. This was no longer a courtesy, no longer a debt. It was a choice, and he had already made it. The storm arrived without warning. Not the dramatic kind, no thunder to announce itself, but a steady pressure that darkened the afternoon and pressed rain against the windows like a held breath. The light thinned, sounds sharpened. The building seemed to lean inward. Roxy felt it before the first drop hit. Her pencil stopped mid-line. The hum of the refrigerator grew teeth. Water tapped the glass in irregular rhythms that refused to settle into a pattern. She pressed her palms against her ears, breath shortening. "No," she whispered. "No, no." Aria looked up, heart lurching. "Roxy?" The rain intensified, drumming the window frames. Somewhere outside, a car alarm chirped and died. Roxy slid from her chair to the floor, back against the wall, knees pulled tight. Her breaths came shallow, uneven, like they were catching on something invisible. Nicholas was already moving. He knelt a few feet away, close enough to be present, far enough to not crowd. He lowered his voice until it matched the quiet he was trying to build. "Roxy," he said, "look at me." She didn't. Her gaze darted, unfixed. Nicholas placed his jacket on the floor between them, smoothing it once so it lay flat. "Your hands," he said, "on the fabric." She hesitated, then touched it. The wool absorbed sound, the pressure grounded. "Count with me, just the breaths. 1, 2. The rain didn't stop, but it lost its edge. Roxy's shoulders eased, her breathing slowed until it matched his. Aria sank onto the chair, the strength draining out of her all at once. She covered her mouth, eyes burning. Fear had lived in her chest for weeks now, tight, constant. But this was different. This was the moment it spilled over. "I can't do this," she said, the words tearing out of her. "I can't keep guessing when the world is going to come at her." Nicholas didn't look away from Roxy. "You are doing it," he said, "every day." Aria shook her head, tears slipping free. "I'm failing her." Nicholas finally turned. His expression didn't soften, but something deeper shifted. "You're not," he said. "You're tired." The truth of it broke her. She pressed her hands into her face, shoulders shaking, the quiet kind of sob that comes when there's no space left to be strong. Roxy looked up then. She crawled toward her mother, small hands gripping Aria's sleeve. "I'm okay now," she said simply. Aria pulled her close, breathing her in like oxygen. The storm moved through the room, past them, loosening its grip. Later, when Roxy lay on the couch, wrapped in Nicholas's jacket, eyes closed but peaceful, Nicholas stood at the window, watching rain thread down the glass. Aria joined him, keeping space, unsure where the edges were now. "I don't talk about it," Nicholas said suddenly. She didn't ask what. "My wife," he continued, "she hated storms, said they felt like the sky losing control." Aria turned to him surprised. He hadn't looked at her. His eyes stayed on the window, jaw set. "She died 3 years ago. I learned how to keep everything contained after that." The confession hung between them, unplanned and unprotected. "I'm sorry," Aria said. Nicholas nodded once. "I don't need sympathy. I just—" He stopped, recalibrated. "I understand what it costs to hold the center when everything else is breaking." Aria swallowed. The storm outside began to ease, rain thinning into mist. Roxy stirred, murmuring something unintelligible, fingers still curled into the fabric of his jacket. Nicholas noticed. Something inside him tightened, not painfully, but decisively. This was no longer observation, no longer strategy. Trust had shifted its weight. Nicholas turned back to the room, to the woman who stood with exhaustion etched into her posture and resilience stitched into her bones. Nothing was the same now. The danger had sharpened. So had the bond holding them upright. What happens when strength becomes a shelter? The call came at 6:12 a.m. Nicholas was already awake. He always was. Grief had trained him into light sleep and heavy vigilance. "Victor escalated," his security lead said. "Direct this time." Nicholas sat up, phone pressed to his ear, eyes already calculating distance and time. "A courier tried to approach the child at school," the voice continued. "Intercepted, non-violent, but deliberate." Nicholas closed his eyes. "Move them," he said, "now." By the time Aria's phone rang, the decision was already made. She answered groggy, confusion sharpening into alarm as Nicholas's voice filled the line, controlled, precise, leaving no room for hesitation. "Pack a bag," he said. "You and Roxy. I'm sending a car." For what? Aria asked. Safety. She sat up. Nicholas, slow down. There is no time for that. The car arrived 20 minutes later. Black, quiet. The driver didn't speak. Aria stood in the doorway of her apartment, bag in hand, pulse racing. Roxy clutched her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide but silent. Where are we going? Aria asked. Somewhere secure, Nicholas replied. Temporary. She stepped back. You don't get to decide this. I already have. The words landed wrong. They drove without conversation. The city fell away, replaced by gated roads and quiet trees. The house waited behind iron gates, modern, clean, guarded. Aria's chest tightened. This wasn't protection, it was containment. Security greeted Nicholas by name. Doors opened without keys. Rules were explained to Aria like policies, not choices. No outside visitors. School will be handled. Phones monitored for now. Aria's hands curled into fists. You didn't ask me, she said once they were alone. Nicholas loosened his tie, the only sign of strain. I didn't need permission to keep you alive. I am not a liability, she snapped. No, he said evenly, you're a target. Roxy sat on the couch, quiet, eyes tracking exits. This place is too quiet, Aria turned to Nicholas. She notices when things are wrong. Nicholas met her gaze. So do I. The argument came later, after Roxy slept. Aria stood in the vast kitchen, arms crossed, anger trembling just beneath her skin. You turned my life into a locked room, she said. You didn't protect me, you erased me. Nicholas's jaw tightened. I removed variables. I am not a variable, she said. I'm her mother. Silence stretched thin. I lost my wife because I waited. His voice stayed steady, but something dark moved beneath it. I will not wait again. Aria's anger softened into something more dangerous. You don't get to rewrite our lives to heal your grief, she said quietly. The words struck deeper than shouting. Nicholas looked away. When he spoke again, his voice had cooled. This is temporary. So is trust, Aria replied. She walked away before he could stop her. From the hallway, Nicholas watched her go, the distance between them solidifying into something cold and exact. This was the line. He had crossed it, and nothing, no matter how justified, felt clean on the other side.
The house breathed like it was alive. Not loudly, just enough to be noticed if you were listening for it. Security systems hummed beneath the walls. Cameras blinked once, then settled. The quiet pressed in, clean and absolute. Aria felt it most at night. She lay awake on crisp sheets that didn't smell like her, listening to Roxy's even breathing down the hall, wondering when safety had begun to feel like a cage. Nicholas had given them protection with no visible bars, and that made it worse. There was nowhere to push against. In the morning, she found him on the terrace, jacket folded over a chair, phone in his hand. They're leaning on me, Nicholas said without turning, indirectly. Aria stepped closer, stopping at the line where the stone floor cooled. Victor? Yes. He finally looked at her. His eyes were steady, but the strain showed in the way he held his shoulders, tight, precise, like control was the only thing keeping something heavier contained. He's threatening exposure, Nicholas continued. Not of you, of me. Aria frowned. What does that mean? He wants leverage, Nicholas said, and he knows where to look. Aria absorbed that. Then let it come out. Nicholas's jaw tightened. It's not that simple. Why? She pressed. He hesitated. Just long enough. Aria saw it then. Not the billionaire, not the protector, but the man who decided first and explained later. The man who believed order mattered more than consent. You're still deciding for me, she said quietly. Nicholas looked away. I'm deciding how to end this. And I'm deciding whether I'm still willing to stand here while you do. The silence between them sharpened. Across the room, Roxy sat at the long table, lining up chess pieces into a perfect mirrored pattern. She wasn't playing, she was observing. The house had taught her new rhythms, guards changing shifts, doors opening a second later than expected. The way Nicholas's footsteps slowed when he reached Arya's door. She noticed things adults didn't want noticed. That afternoon, Roxy wandered closer to the security office than she was meant to. No one stopped her. They rarely did. Children were often invisible. She watched the screen, saw Victor's face freeze mid-frame as footage replayed from the school gate weeks earlier, saw the man who'd approached her intercepted and turned away, saw the timestamp. She memorized it. That night, Nicholas received a message, a single line. "You're protecting the wrong people." No signature. Arya saw the shift in his posture immediately. "He's pushing," she said. "He's getting closer, which means he's running out of room." "And what happens when he runs out?" asked Arya. Nicholas didn't answer. Roxy stepped into the space between them, holding a folded piece of paper. She placed it on the table, smoothed it once, then stepped back. "I saw something," she said. Nicholas unfolded the paper. A careful drawing, lines precise, angles exact. A camera, a hallway, a man's face circled in red, time written beneath it. His breath stilled. "You weren't supposed to be there," Nicholas said softly. "I wasn't. I just looked." Arya stared at the paper, then at Nicholas. "You're hiding things from me." Nicholas closed his eyes once. "Yes." The admission settled heavy and real. "I thought I was protecting you, but I've been protecting control." Arya stepped closer, heart pounding. "Then stop." Nicholas met her gaze. Something gave way, not all at once, but enough. "I can't do this without you. Not cleanly." Arya searched his face. This was the moment, the one that asked for courage instead of comfort. "Then tell me everything," she said, "or I walk." Outside, a car slowed near the gate, then kept going. Inside, 3 lives leaned toward a single point. The truth pressed close, no longer willing to wait. Is love still love when it demands courage instead of comfort?
The light changed first. Morning arrived, thin and colorless, the kind that made edges blur. Clouds pressed low over the property, muting sound. Even the guards' radios seemed to whisper. Nicholas stood in the glass-walled study, jacket off, sleeves rolled, hands braced on the desk as if holding the room in place. Arya watched him from the doorway. He had told her everything. About Victor's reach, about the files he'd kept sealed, insurance, leverage, proof gathered quietly over years. About the way control had felt safer than trust. "You could end him," Arya said, not a question. "Yes," Nicholas replied, "but it would leave you exposed." He straightened, meeting her eyes. "Or I can end this clean." The cost hovered between them. Outside, a car rolled up the drive without stopping at the gate. The guards stiffened. Nicholas lifted a hand once. The signal was calm. Victor Harlan stepped out alone. He looked smaller without the room bending around him. His suit was immaculate, his smile thin and precise, the kind that survived humiliation by feeding on it. "Bold," Victor said as he entered the courtyard, "inviting me." "I didn't," Nicholas replied. "You came." They faced each other beneath the overcast sky, 2 men shaped by power in different ways. Victor's eyes slid past Nicholas, toward the house. "She's in there," Victor said lightly. "The woman, the child." Nicholas didn't flinch. "They're leaving today." Victor laughed. It broke quickly. "You think this ends because you want it to?" Nicholas reached into his jacket and placed a small drive on the stone table between them. "Everything you're looking for," he said. "Forgery records, shell accounts, names."
Victor's smile froze. "You give that up," Victor said slowly, "and I walk." "Yes," Nicholas said, "and you disappear." Victor studied him, suspicion sharpening. Why? Nicholas glanced toward the house, toward the window where Arya stood, still as breath, toward the child who watched the world like it told the truth if you waited long enough. "Because they're not collateral," Nicholas said, "and I'm finished pretending they are." The wind shifted, leaves scraped softly across stone. Victor reached for the drive. His hand shook once. He covered it by closing his fingers tight. "You'll regret this," he said. Nicholas's voice was quiet. "No." Victor turned and walked back to his car. The engine started. The sound receded down the drive, swallowed by distance. Inside the house, the quiet rushed in all at once. Arya felt it give way in her chest. Her knees weakened. She gripped the back of a chair to stay upright. Nicholas crossed the room without hurry and stopped in front of her. "It's done," he said. She searched his face for cracks, found none, only the weight of what he'd chosen. "You gave up your shield," she said. "I kept the right one." Her breath hitched. She nodded once. Then the tears came, silent, unstoppable, the kind that arrived after holding everything together for too long. Nicholas didn't reach for her first. He stood there, steady, present. When she leaned forward, he caught her without tightening his grip. His hands stayed open, waiting. Roxy padded into the room, rabbit tucked under her arm. "It's quieter," she said. Nicholas knelt in front of her, bringing himself to her level. "It is." She studied his face, then placed the rabbit into his hands. "A gift, a test." "Keep it safe," she said. He closed his fingers gently around the worn fabric. "I will." Outside, the clouds thinned. Light spilled through the windows, pale and tentative. Arya noticed it as her breathing slowed, as the tightness in her shoulders eased. Hands unclenched. The house exhaled. Later, as they packed only what mattered, Arya paused in the hallway. Nicholas stood at the far end, the rabbit tucked into his jacket pocket, like something precious and absurd. "You didn't have to choose us," she said. He met her gaze. "I wanted to." The words didn't promise forever. They didn't ask for anything back. They were enough. When the car pulled away, the property fell silent again, but it was a different quiet now, lighter, honest. The threat was gone. What remained was choice, and it had been made.
Time didn't announce itself when it returned. It moved the way water does after a storm, quietly, without spectacle, filling the spaces that had been left raw. Days unfolded with small repetitions that began to matter, mornings that started without urgency, evenings that ended without checking locks twice. Roxy changed first, not in ways that invited applause, in ways that only showed if you paid attention. She started waking before her alarm, sitting at the kitchen table with her workbook open, pencil aligned just so. She walked to school without scanning the street every few steps. She laughed once, soft and surprised, when a classmate said something that landed exactly right. Nicholas noticed. He noticed because he had learned to stop watching for threats long enough to see growth. He still walked them partway home some days, still memorized routes, but his hands stayed open now, resting loosely at his sides. When he stood near a window, it wasn't to guard it, it was to feel the light. Arya noticed the difference in him before she named it. He listened more than he planned. He waited. When he offered help, it came shaped like a question instead of a plan. He learned the rhythm of her kitchen, the way she stacked dishes, the moments when silence meant rest instead of distance. One evening, they sat on the floor while Roxy worked through a puzzle. Pieces clicked into place with satisfying certainty. "Stay," Roxy said, without looking up. "Nicholas, stay." Arya leaned back against the couch, watching the way he followed Roxy's pace, how he let her lead without correcting. It softened something in her chest, not into trust exactly, but into permission. Later, when Roxy slept,
Arya stood at the window. Nicholas joined her, close enough to share warmth, far enough to respect space. "You don't hover anymore," she said. He smiled faintly. "I'm learning where I'm needed." "And where you're not." "Yes." She turned to face him. "This doesn't become ownership." "It won't," he said. "I don't want to cage what taught me how to breathe again." The honesty landed without demand. She nodded once. They didn't kiss. They didn't name anything. They let closeness be what it was. Earned, steady, unspectacular. Weeks passed. Nicholas returned to work without letting it swallow him whole. He left meetings early. He ignored calls that didn't matter. Control loosened into discernment. Arya returned to her routines without shrinking them to fit fear. She reclaimed corners of her life that had gone quiet. Music in the evenings, phone calls that lasted too long, laughter that didn't apologize for itself. Roxy watched all of it. One afternoon, she placed the rabbit on the table between Nicholas and her mother, then pushed it gently toward the center. "This is where it goes," she said. Neither of them argued. As the sun lowered, light slid across the floor, slow and patient. Arya reached for a glass of water. Nicholas handed it to her without looking. Their fingers brushed, brief, unremarkable, complete. Fear no longer dictated the shape of the room. It existed now only as memory, something acknowledged, not obeyed. When night settled in, the house held them without tension. Windows reflected warmth instead of watchfulness. Doors closed because it was time, not because it was necessary. Roxy slept easily. Nicholas stood at the threshold of the room and realized he didn't need to count exits anymore. Arya turned off the light and paused beside him. This wasn't a promise. It was present. And for the first time, that was enough. What remains when fear finally lets go?
Life did not return to what it had been. It moved forward instead, altered, steadier, shaped by what had been faced and survived. Mornings became quieter, not empty, just unhurried. Roxy ate breakfast by the window, sunlight warming the edge of the table, her pencil tapping softly as she traced patterns on scrap paper. She hummed sometimes now, barely audible, a sound she didn't realize she made. Her world still required structure, but it no longer felt brittle. It bent without breaking. Arya watched her with a careful kind of peace. She had learned that safety did not mean stillness. It meant choice. It meant waking up without bracing herself for what might come next. She returned fully to her work, no longer shrinking her days to accommodate fear. She laughed more easily. She slept deeper. The weight she'd carried for years loosened, not because someone took it from her, but because she was no longer carrying it alone. Nicholas did not disappear back into his old life. He adjusted it. He stopped confusing vigilance with worth. He learned how to sit in rooms without managing them, how to listen without scanning for exits. When problems arose, he handled them cleanly, directly, without dragging shadows into places they didn't belong. He came over for dinner sometimes, nothing elaborate, food eaten slowly, conversation allowed to wander. Roxy spoke when she had something to say and was never rushed when she didn't. One evening, as dishes dried on the rack and the day settled into dusk, Arya stood beside Nicholas at the sink. Their shoulders brushed. Neither stepped away. "This isn't rescue," she said quietly. "I know," he replied. "And it's not obligation." "I know that too." What it was remained unnamed. They chose each other in small, consistent ways, in showing up, in staying present, in not demanding more than what was freely given. No promises were extracted, no futures outlined in certainty. Love did not arrive loudly or insist on definition. It settled, like something earned, not claimed. Roxy noticed the difference most clearly. One afternoon, she watched them from the floor as they talked quietly over coffee. their voices low, their bodies relaxed. She stood, crossed the room, and took each of their hands. She placed them together once, then let go. Neither of them moved for a moment. Roxy nodded, satisfied, and returned to her puzzle. Nothing more needed to be said. There were no more threats, no shadows lingering at the edges of days. What had been faced stayed in the past where it belonged. What remained was not perfection, but balance. Evenings ended with lights dimmed instead of checked, doors closed because it was time to rest, windows reflected warmth instead of watchfulness. And in that quiet, steady space, love existed not as a promise of forever, but as a choice made daily, gently, without fear. Some love does not arrive to be declared. It stays, steady and loyal, because it was chosen when peace finally became possible. Please subscribe and like this video.
Does the story end here? Should I write a part 2? Type continue if you want a part 2.